Well, hey, folks, I'm Jeffrey Darty, and I got a bogus copyright claim filed against me, so I won't be able to go live for a little bit. So tonight, the show with Heidi and Jenny will be on Heidi's channel. That's channel 27, Heidi Vandenberg, channel 27 tonight. We're going to talk about the ego. Is it your amigo? We're going to talk about it. We're going to look at it. We're going to break it down. It's going to be some stuff that I don't think you've ever heard before. Some very fresh perspectives, so some very fresh and fine minds. And today, I want to talk to you about the fact that all things work together for good, but there's a great big if, ladies and gentlemen. So I want you to get ready for the show tonight. I want you to get ready for this because it's going to be powerful. And I want to show you what we're talking about here and what it really means. So let's go and take a look at this verse. Yes, I'm going to go to a verse, and believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be quoting the Apostle Paul. Now, I get all the time, you hate Paul, you hate the New Testament, you say it's bad, you say it's rotten, you say it's not true, and yet you talk about it and you use it. Well, that's because every good usurper, and Paul was a good usurper, every one of these bad people uses falsehood to promote a little bit of truth, uses truth to promote falsehood. So he's got some encrypted, encoded messages in his writings, and sometimes he just stole some good stuff from the master as well. And I'm not sure which one this is, but it's certainly worth reading. It says, "And we know that all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose." So let's take a look at that verse. That's verse number 28. And we're talking about things working together for good. Now, we know that those that are loving God, okay, loving God, agapeo, those that long for the divine, those that wish well to the divine, those that take pleasure in the divine, those that long for the divine, those that have love of reason and esteem. They don't have love of fear because they're afraid of going to hell. They don't have the love of an automaton. They don't have the love of a foot soldier responding to the commands of his superior officer. They have a love of reason. They've set it in their head. This makes sense. The divine loves me, and I'm going to follow them because it makes sense to me. And they esteem the divine. They don't fear the divine. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. No, it's not. The fear of God is the beginning of bondage. Any God that wants fear is not a God. So the people that take pleasure in, the people that have reasoned it out in their mind and they have a reason for their faith, the people that esteem the divine, those are the people that this condition is. And I don't know what condition your condition is in, but I know you can be almost any place. I know you can be almost anywhere. You can be almost anywhere along your walk. You can still be in a church, or you can be out of a church, and you can still be loving God. I don't know how long you can stay in big time religion and have a true love for the divine. It's interesting when Paul is talking about the Lord, he's always using kairos. Here he's using theon, which really is the New Testament word for Elohim. Encoding, folks, it's not the word encoding. It's not the word I'm looking for. The word is, anyway, like it's a cipher. It'll come to me. For those that really do love the divine, it's encrypted. Thank you. It's encrypted. For all those that really love the Elohim, all things work together for good. How many things work together for good? All, the whole, every kind of, every single thing works together for good. So we talked this morning about something really bad happened, but if you are loving God, it's a thing that happened, good thing, bad thing, all things work together. All things work together. What is that word? Synergy is the word. They cooperate with, they work together, they come together. All things, good things, bad things, indifferent things, they all come together for our good. What's our good, ladies and gentlemen? For our good, our intrinsic good. They all come together for our intrinsic good. Here's the big if. If it all works together for our intrinsic good, if we are one of those, what's those mean? We are one of the ones. It's not just any people, it's the people that are called. What does called mean? Called means called, summoned, invited. When someone sends you an invitation, what do? You accept it or you reject it, don't you? Keep that in mind. When someone sends you an invitation, you accept it or you reject it. Those called are invited according to his purpose is the word we're looking at, right? According to the purpose. What is the purpose? According to the showbread, according to the predetermination. What does that mean? Oh, for a specific purpose. Okay. So those that are invited for a specific purpose, can rest assured that all things, good things, bad things, will come together for their good if they are engaged in a rational, reasonable, understanding, totally coherent devotion to deity. So what does that mean? Yes, all things come together for good for those that love God and are called according to his purpose. But what does that mean? That means that, ladies and gentlemen, that all things do work together for you. All things. Not some things, not most things, not almost everything, but every single thing that happens to you, good, bad. It will work together for your good if, A, you're loving God, loving the divine, and B, if you've been invited and dealt with that invitation correctly, and we'll talk about how to deal with that invitation correctly, but there's another verse that comes to my mind. How do we know we're one of God's people? How do we know that we're a person of the divine? How do we know that we're a person following the message of the master? I'll wait. How do we know? Well, the Christ said, people can tell if you're my disciples because what? Because you have love one for another. We were just talking yesterday, I think, when Heidi was in the chat room and Caroline was in the chat room about, is love the most powerful thing out there? Well, the Christ said that, the Master said that the only way you really know that you're loving the father and the mother is because you're loving people. There's people that love people, and you would say, oh, they're not spiritual, but yet they're doing the very thing that defines spirituality. We might need to rethink that. So if you want to know how to know that you're loving the divine, then the best way for you to know that you're loving the divine is for you to love other people, because the divine one said, that's the way you know that you're one of my people, because you have love for one another. So the verse says that all things work together for good. And don't you want that? Don't you want all things to work together for good for you? You don't have to wait for good things. You don't have to wait for the right things. If all things work together for good for you, it doesn't matter what comes your way, because it's all going to work out, cousin. That's my life. That's where I live. But there's reasons why I live there. I can fall into a vat of shite and come out smelling like a rose. Because I'm smart? No. Because I don't ever make mistakes? No. Because I'm clever? No. Because I love the Father, I love the Mother, and I show love for people. If you love the Father and you love the Mother and you show love for other people, all things will work together for good. All things will work together for good for you If you're loving God, and the way you know you're loving God is because you love other people, as my mom calls me on the phone, you know that you're loving God if you love other people. But there's another point, and you are the called. You're the invited, according to his purpose. So let's go to another verse here and talk about being called and talk about being invited. What are we talking about? The master said, many are called, but few are chosen. Jeff, where did you pull that out of randomly? Well, watch this, cousin, because it ain't very random. Many are called. What do you think that word means, called? Invited. All things work together for good in the verse in Romans for those that are invited. Invited by God, invited by the divine, invited by Father, invited by Mother. All things work together for good if they're invited. And if they love the divine. And if you love the divine and you're invited, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you're invited? You're going to choose. You're going to make a choice. You're going to elect. You're going to select. You're going to make a choice. And if you love God, if you love the Father, if you love the Mother, and they give you an invitation, you're going to choose, and of course you're going to choose to accept it. Of course you're going to choose to accept it. So this really is simple. All things, good things, bad things, all things in between, will work together for your betterment if you love the divine. And how do you know you love the divine? Because you love other people and you act with love. You don't act with anger. You don't act with vile. You don't act with malice. You don't cut people to shreds with your words. You don't cut people to shreds with your deeds. You don't manipulate. You don't connive. You love. And you love other people, not just you. When he says love others, he doesn't mean love me, myself, and I. He means love the other girl and guy too. So if you're loving God, and the only way you know you're loving God is that you're characterized by love for others, then you can know that all things will work together for good for you if you've been invited, and you have been invited, if you accept the invitation. And what's the invitation? The invitation is come to the party, yes. I don't know why Nacho Libre just sprang into my mind. But Ramses is not dancing at the party. Anyway, are you dancing at the party? And the party's not always about dancing. Sometimes the party is on the mountaintop, and sometimes the party is in the valley, and sometimes the party's in the valley of the shadow of death. And Ramses is not dancing at the party. And there's a reason why he's not dancing at the party. Because sometimes the party ain't for dancing. Sometimes the party ain't for romancing. Sometimes the party ain't for clapping your hands. Sometimes the party's for being down on your knees, down on your elbows, crying out, digging through the dung of your life and the ashes of a scorched plan, knowing that somehow it's all going to work together for good. Why? Because you've been invited and you accepted. Why? Because you love God, and it can be evidenced by the way you treat other people. You can say you love God with this all you want. Don't tell me how spiritual you are, show me. Don't tell me how advanced you are, show me. Don't tell me how enlightened you are, show me. Show me the money. And how do you show the money? Well, the Christ said, the Master said, Jesus said, Yeshua said, whatever you call him said, because you love one another. And if you say you've accepted the invitation, if you say that you love God and you're mean and nasty and wicked to other people, you're a liar and the truth is not in you. I didn't say it. The master said it, but then I said it, so I guess I did say it, and I meant it, every word. I'm not here to tickle your ears. I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm not here to make you feel happy. I'm not even really here to get you dancing at the party. I'm here to be silly, evidently. I'm here to lead you to water only you can decide to drink. I'm here to lead you to some objective information only you can decide to think, and only you can decide to, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm here to show you how you can rest assured that all things, good things, bad things, and all things in between, work together for your good. Accept the invitation of the Father, accept the invitation of the Mother to be one of the ones that choose to love, that choose to love, that choose to love anyone, everyone, at all times. And how do you know that you're loving? By when you're doing stuff that shows it. Because he said that all men will know that you're my followers because you love each other. Does that mean that all men can see into your heart? Does that mean that all men are empaths? Does that mean that all men are psychics? Ooh, oh, I can feel that he loves people. I can feel that she loves people. Oh, I can feel, yep. Remember the old Karnak? No, they're not psychic. They can tell that you love people by the stuff you do. They can tell that you love people by the stuff you spew out of this. What you say, what you do, how you act, how you look, how you behave. And not just when everything's unicorns and rainbows, but how you behave when the excrement is hitting the rotating appliance, ladies and gentlemen. Who are you when it's not easy? Who are you when it's not smooth? Who are you not on I don't care who you are on the mountaintop, to be frank with you. Everybody's happy and nice at Disney World. Most of the people. Everybody's happy on a mountaintop. I want to see who you are in the valley, cousin. I want to see who you are in the valley of the shadow of death, because that's where we find out who fears no evil. That's where we find out who's the baddest SOB in the valley. That's where we find out if you love. That's where we find out if you're all squawk and no walk. Save your breath. I'll see you in the valley, cousin. And then I'll know. Let me spend a little time with you in the valley. Let me spend a little time with you in the valley of the shadow of death, and I'll tell you who you are. I won't have to, because you'll show both of us. Do you want all things to work together for good for you? I do too. It's an easy prescription. Are you willing to love with the evidence that you show love and don't show nastiness and hate and virility? Not virility, vileness. Are you willing to answer the invitation to love? What's the invitation? Men will know that you're my disciples because you love one another. Are you willing to accept that invitation? Well, if you are, all things work together for you for good. And if you don't, they don't. 8 o'clock tonight, Eastern Time, Channel 27. I'll be joining Heidi Vandenberg and Jenny Moonstone for an epic, enlightening, awesome discussion about the ego, amigos. Until then, unindoctrinate yourself. Guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, be your own guru, for goodness sakes. Ask questions, question answers. Create yourself. Build the life you'll love. And it's an inside job, cousin. Why is it so important, Jeff? Because we're the last generation of real humans. Let's get busy.